I'll do Facebook in just a second. Good to see all of you. It's good to be back from South America. South America was wonderful. The people in South America are absolutely marvelous. They're so friendly. It was great traveling there. Spent time with Marty, who's up there. Sylvia. It was wonderful. It's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful place. And it's always good to be back home, like Dorothy used to say. So,
And Eduardo.
and Eduardo. And so we're going to do mixes today, and both Giovanni and Letiza are going to be talking a little bit about that. I was going to show, but I think I'll show next week. It'll give me more time of how that looks on the C-Lab, because I'm always asked, well, if I took a really bright color, and actually bright's an L value, if I took a really warm color and I took a really cool color, where would that land? And so I think next week we'll show you where that is, what that looks like in mixing, and where that lands on the C-Lab, because sometimes they're very different from each other. So it's wonderful to, use these eyes as an artist. You see the world in such an awesome way. So with that, let me go back to view. And Giovanni and Letiza, do you want to tell everybody what you're doing today?
Okay, okay. I'm starting John with uh, this mixing on the selection blue. I'm starting with this blue is a monopigment and starting the manganese blue hue plus nickel titanate yellow. In this part, I'm mixing all together. And the second part, I change the sequence when the color dry. And the second is phthalo blue green shade and plus bismuth vanadate. The third is phthalo blue red shade plus ansa yellow light. The fourth is phthalo blue turquoise plus azo yellow. And the five is Prussian blue plus quinophthalone yellow. It's very interesting mixing for me. I'm starting in manganese.
So they're all single pigment?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's starting very, very light. And apply the nickel titanate for directing this light green. And in the second part, I change the sequence. This is dry. And apply after the layer of blue. And in this case, obtain the difference of luminosity and the mixing. And in this part of white, apply the same mixes, but with the percentual 1 point of blue and big point of yellow, or 1 point of yellow, and big point of blue, and obtain this shade. It's similar, but I have a different percentual of color. Obtain this beautiful mixing. The second is phthalo blue green shade. Very strong blue. I love this blue, John. And bismuth vanadate. Obtain this green, very beautiful, strong green. And change on the sequence. So look, the difference of this shade is very interesting. And the same project. And obtain this. Okay, the third is phthalo blue red shade. But in this case, I love this because the red, I prefer the red shade on this type of blue. And also yellow light, starting from the corner and mixing. The red shade obtained this type of green with this blue and prefer this value. The dry blue. Okay. And point and mixing. All together. Okay, the fourth is one the most important blue is phthalo blue turquoise,
One of the new one.
the new one. And is a yellow in the center in this case. And obtain this warm green. And this is where I used before the blue, but very, very in light mode. And and obtain this shade. Okay, and the last one of my selection is Prussian blue, very white, and quinostolone, yellow, very light green, blue. Then this white shade. And point. And for me, John, these are five selection, this blue and for perfect combination on with this yellow for create a beautiful shade of green, multiple light, more strong, warm, and very light on this shade. It's very perfect combination.
Right.
Is it all
Funny,
mono?
I love these greens. They are so different, all of them, and gorgeous, all of them. It's incredible how it
Yeah,
changes, whether
yeah.
you
It's
start with the
important.
blue or you start with the yellow. It changes
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah, it's very important when I use the complementary color, in this case blue and yellow, for creating another. It's important the sequence, the contents, and when I start in the blue, for example, when I start in the mixing, I prefer starting with the blue for create this shade of green.
But if you start with the yellow, you always can get it darker. If you start with the blue, it's difficult to get it darker, lighter, I mean.
Yeah. But it's a big exercise.
Mm, yeah. And I like this bismuth band-aid.
Yeah.
The bismuth, the second one, yes,
Yeah.
because well, I can yeah, one of our brand ambassadors said it's a bully color because it invades everything, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I have another blue selection. In this case, I changed my sheets. For example,
Giovanni,
yeah.
yeah, exactly, yes, because it was not straight. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I starting with oops. Another selection, for example, is cobalt blue. And cadmium yellow light. In this case, for example, try to starting with cadmium yellow light. Apply the cobalt blue after. And apply more cobalt blue for is not different, more different. And another beautiful color for me is the John color, French ultramarine and ultramarine blue. This is a French. A cadmium yellow medium. Interesting green and ultramarine blue. And use one of my favorite. Here is Orioline. Increase. This is another shape. It's a beautiful, beautiful, interesting shade. Starting with this blue. And for example, I changed the yeah. The Orioline before. French and ultramarine. And create this beautiful shade.
Like a flag. I don't know which country.
Yeah, this is
Sembra una bandiera.
yeah, yeah. This is a French and ultramarine. It's very, very close, but have a little difference.
Giovanni,
Yeah.
could you please make just a little swatch with without the yellow, the French ultramarine and the ultramarine
Oh yeah, absolutely.
underneath or somewhere where we can see the difference? Yeah.
Okay,
Without the
this is
yellow.
a French. Starting from dark to light.
Uh-huh.
This is ultramarine.
Mhm.
French and ultramarine.
One is colder and the other one is warmer. Yeah.
This
Cool
is
and warm.
cool and warm.
The ultramarine is warm or cold?
French is
Warm.
warm,
I
ultramarine
think
is
Warm.
cool.
it's the other way around, right?
Yeah, yeah.
French, is it warm?
French is warm,
Yeah.
ultramarine is cool. One is green, one is red.
Check them.
Wait, the word? Credo.
Okay.
Because of the particle size. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Warm and cool.
So the French ultramarine is bigger, the
Yes.
size?
Correct.
Okay.
You,
Yeah,
may I ask something?
Yes.
absolutely.
Do you mix your greens or use the already handy
The ready-made greens?
granulation colors?
Usi fai sempre questi oppure usi anche quelli normali?
No, I use the normal green, but when I need to obtain more light or more dark, I use the mix in the blue and yellow for create the green.
I want to say that I checked from the color map. There are 19 shades of greens. Absolutely gorgeous they are.
Yeah, yeah.
Do we need to mix our greens? I mean,
Bisogna di mescolare i verdi.
Yes, because the color Dennis Smith color map is infinity in this universe. So have a lot of possibility.
Also, if you have a limited palette, when you have only primary colors, just the three colors, and you
Oh, I
choose
see.
the yellow, the blue, and the red. You need to create a green somehow.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Joe.
Okay, and another last two blue is a cerulean blue. It's very light.
Ken, I think a good answer there is two ways. If you use a lot of green, it's worth having your favorite greens in a tube. If you only use a tiny bit of green, then perhaps mixing it is more practical. But on the other side, I think the tube colors are more pure and more fresh compared to a mixed color. So it depends on your preference of how fresh you want your greens. So tube color is always fresher than a mixed color.
Usually, for example, when I paint the still life, when I need the precision color, I use the green or blue or yellow. It's perfect mode. And when I painted the landscape, urban landscape or sea landscape, I prefer the mixing.
It depends also
If you
what
pre-
colors do you mix. Are they transparent? Are they opaque? Are they semi-opaque? If you mix
Yeah.
transparent, they will be very pure and very nice mixing.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Caroline. I absolutely agree with you.
Okay, this is a cerulean blue and cadmium yellow deep. And the last is a cerulean blue chromium.
I think we also get the beauty of glazing. When you mix them or lay them over one another, you can actually get like a more depth in that way too.
Thank you, Diane.
And the Alsa yellow medium. I'll change this. And the difference with the cerulean blue and cerulean blue chromium.
There are two different pigments.
This cerulean blue. And cerulean blue chromium. Cerulean blue and cerulean blue chromium. Very beautiful, the cerulean blue. Okay, the last blue is indantron blue. With the beautiful Mayan yellow. To create this beautiful light green. Have a multiple shade of blue and a yellow and create a multiple shade of green. I restart with this. And a very interesting to create a perfect combination of this color. I have this is a Maya yellow. Thank you, John, for this.
You're very welcome, Gio.
Gio,
Right.
look at the color you did on the bottom, last color you mixed. Look
Yeah.
at the beautiful way that you can transition into blue and yellow. Look at what happens in between. It's glowing in there.
Yeah.
Another reason to mix. We have such an opportunity to do so many different things with our colors.
Absolutely.
That looks like a turtle sunset from
Yeah.
the
Absolutely. Put
That's
it vertical. Let's no, the other way, over the sea. Yeah. It's a nice
Gio,
sunset over
which
the sea.
yellow was this one, Gio?
it's Mayan yellow.
Mayan yellow. Thank you.
And
They're the colours of the sunset here last night.
Yeah, you have beautiful
Very nice.
sunsets.
I saw the water.
Okay. The other one. Another one. We can see on Sabine. Sabine had done something, some mixes. Sabina, can you show?
Yes, I just have mixed the blues here on the card, and then I chose the Mayan blue genuine. I love it. Oh, you don't see it. I love it. There is a little bit granulation inside, and it's amazing. I love how it's looks like it's look like little trees inside. And so I took the Mayan blue genuine on the left side and the aureolin on the right side, and in the middle I mix it. And so you see I have different greens with different blues, and they are very the Verdito blue looks like with the Mayan blue genuine, but it's other yellow and other blue. And it looks like the same, but when you look in the middle and on the end, so you see they are both different. And I love not what's on the side, I love what it's do in the middle. And that's just amazing. They are stories. The colors tell you stories, and you can look and can hear, and that's amazing. The Indrandron blue with the quina gold make a very foul blue, and it's like a very stormy day. Maybe in February. I love that for clouds. And Prussian
You know
blue,
this stormy color that you say?
yes,
It reminds me of a painting of a very well-known Spanish painter that painted, you know, the sunlight, a building in the sunlight, and the background was absolutely that color. You know, when the storm is coming,
Yes.
there's still sun, but the storm is coming. It's exactly that color.
yes, I love it. It's make it you have feelings when you see that blue.
Yes.
In
And that is
and
Indrandron with quinacridone gold, yeah?
yes, and the Prussian blue with the nickel azu yellow, it gives a cold green, and I love it too.
It's a romantic green.
Yes.
That is a
I
nice
don't know.
description, Angela. Are you dreaming?
It's my perception. Maybe I'm wrong. My perception is it feels, I don't know, romantic. I can imagine a couple there. Even I see the face of the man.
Yes, but that's what I tell you. The colors tell you stories, and that's romantic. Yes.
It is.
John, I have a question for you, please, because we have been talking with Svetlana, who's in the Zoom session, about the particles like French ultramarine and ultramarine. French, the particles are bigger, therefore the color is warmer, right? In the French ultramarine.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, but you were saying about granulation. Does it affect the granulation? I think it doesn't, does it?
Separate aspect.
So what affects the granulation then? Because she didn't, and I didn't know how to explain properly what affects really the granulation.
So granulation was watercolors are really neat in that there's so many different aspects that all of you take advantage of to get to do the paintings that you do. So granulation is usually, for the most part, because of differential specific gravity. It's a little bit difficult to get granulation when the particle has the same weight, the same size, and the same shape. For example, Moonglow granulates because you have 3 different pigments and they have different sizes and different weights. Therefore, they all seek different levels and you get that beautiful granulation. The
So
same
it's
thing.
two things, the size and the weight.
It's
Is that in the case of Moonglow?
size, shape, and weight. Those 3 aspects. For the most part, it's because of weight.
Okay.
And how they fall onto the paper and how far they will go away from each other.
And
But
also,
ultramarines, both of them have the same weight, even though they have different sizes or not.
They are going to, so ultramarine versus French ultramarine are going to have different sizes and different weights, but in themselves, the particles will have the same shape and the same weight.
that is my question, John. In one color, do the particles have the same shape and the same size and the same weight, or they are also different from small to big or medium and whatever?
So usually, if it's a monopigment, it's going to have it's going to have the same weight and the same shape and the same size. It's when you have more than one pigment being mixed together to create a color. There's always violations to that rule. One of the biggest one and one of the most beautiful colors is lunar black, where they're all the same size, they're all the same shape, they're all the same weight. And that's because they're nanoparticles and they move away because of chemistry. Same reason you get the blooms or the blossoms is you have a stronger color invading a weaker color. And that's usually because of, usually many times because of specific gravity. So it's just lots of beautiful chemistry happening within watercolors. And it's incredible what you guys get out of them. Some of the things that were talked about, we're going to go over today, but probably next week, is we talk about warm and cool. And from the C-Lab perspective, that we use the spectrophotometer to figure out those aspects as to where they lie. But then we also have something which we call bright, and brightness, which is the light value or L value, isn't a warm value. They're not the same thing. For example, when we look at something from the C-Lab, not the human eye, maybe not how you're doing it through the color wheel, for example, but for C-Lab, it's how much light is reflected. So if you have a lunar black, it can have a high L value because you can see a lot of the paper and the paper is going to reflect really well. If you have lamp black, it's going to have a much lower L value because it's not going to show the paper and it has high absorbency. So it's going to absorb the light and not allow it to push back again. So there's just many things happening when you're looking at colors, and it's just it's neat hearing all of you talk about it because it's kind of fun.
And it's amazing that you know it off the top of your head.
But I can't do what you do because I can't paint.
Well, I think you cannot paint because you haven't tried.
Okay.
Yes, that's right. You
I-
promised you will try.
I just heard the voice of my mother.
Yeah.
We're going to take him aside and give him a series of tuitions so he can paint.
I have a
Very
question with the French ultramarine and the ultramarine and the particles being the same. Would you be able to consider looking at that as the particles are just like a miniature version of the other particles? For the one particle's larger, but then
Yes.
if you same specific gravity, same weight, same shape, but a different like a miniature version of it. Would that
So one of them is going to cause, so the French ultramarine is larger, so when light hits it, it reflects to the warm or the red. And it's how that light particle is hitting that particular pigment and bouncing. And so they're uniform. The French ultramarine pigment is uniform within the French ultramarine. And the ultramarine, they're smaller. So when the light wave hits it, it moves toward the cool or the green. And the particles are uniform within the ultramarine. But they are different from each other in terms of size. So if you mix them together, you're probably going to you'll pretty much nullify the effect.
So interesting.
A question for you. So they start out, because they're a chemistry lab made color, as the same product, and it comes down to the refining of them, which changes their particle size, which then determines the French versus the regular ultramarine.
So that's a really good question. They're all really good questions. So it's industry for the most part that looks to the pigment house and defines what result they want to get back from the pigment house. And the pigment house creates that particle to be able to accomplish that result. So quinacridone gold was used by Toyota to make a lot of beautiful Toyota cars. And so they wanted a particular gold, and Ciba-Geigy created that pigment to make that happen. So we have 3-roll mills. And if I told the 3-roll mill I wanted to go from 12 microns to 3 microns, I could actually physically change on the mill French ultramarine to ultramarine. But in general, you never want to do that. So you need to know how big the particle is. So you're never going below the particle level, or you can actually lose some of the color saturation. And you can make the color very flat. If it was a bright color, for example, you can make it much more flat. You could change the hue of the color by how you process it. So you really have to know what
you'll be altering the chemistry of it.
Yes, because you'd be actually changing the structure of it. So the chemistry gives the structure gives the color. Yes, that's correct.
It's sort of like the siennas and the ochres. If they're cooked, they're burned, they go darker, lighter.
Sure, you're changing the oxidation state. So you're changing usually they're changing the iron molecule, the Fe molecule, to a different state, and therefore you're getting a different color. So the pigment can remain the same shape, it can remain the same size, but yes, as you said, you're changing the chemistry of it. You're changing the oxidation state.
John, and we have the question, because that's a question that 2 people have already posed, more or less. And it's, if you mix French ultramarine, which is warm, and burnt sienna, because Svetlana said she likes French ultramarine. I think it was French ultramarine with burnt sienna. Would it be warm or cold?
What I'll do for next week is I will get equal parts of them. I'll mix them. I'll put them on the spectrophotometer, and I'll show you.
Okay, that's fantastic.
Fantastic.
Logically, it will be warm.
A comment I was going to make on top of all of that is there's an amazing benefit of the purity of the colors from Daniel Smith, which you are getting beautiful ultramarines, whether they be French or regular, versus a lot of the, what we say, student quality paints, which has got a lot of other fillers in it, which change the chemical structure, and you don't get the vibrancy from the cheaper paints. So you're getting a much better, more pure product from Daniel Smith, which is really the ultimate when it comes to us artists and getting color.
Thank you. Usually with a student, you're right. The student grade, they're going to add calcium carbonate because calcium carbonate is very inexpensive, but it also can change the color quite a bit.
John, when you do the Primatex, you grind them. Those are minerals that you grind to get the color. So
yeah, we cleave them.
Yes.
Yeah, you clean them. So how would the particles be exactly the same?
They're not. That's why the Primatex, for example, are so highly granulating, is because they're not the same.
They're different, yes.
Exactly.
It's just the chemically produced pigments, the particles are the same.
Yeah, for example, this is I don't think you can see the brightness of it there, but this is purprite. And so the purprite it's a manganese. This is going to be less granulating because it's so highly pure to begin with. I'll do this and show you. See, it comes off in your hands,
Yeah.
which is going to be different than, for example, a serpentine. So, but they're going to granulate no matter what, because you can see there's other things within the purprite. And when we
Right.
click, we're going to incorporate that, and that's going to give granulation.
Would that be the quartz?
We try not, this is not quartz, but we try to knock quartz off and get rid of it. We'll float it away usually, or use acid or base to get rid of it, because it doesn't add anything, and it's absolutely horrendous to our machines, because it's just like one value under diamonds. It is
Yeah.
some really, really tough stuff. Tougher than steel, far and away tougher than steel.
Yeah, and the particles cannot be the same with that process.
Yeah, and they
So-
add no value. They would add no value. It's like looking at glass.
Right.
John, this is so interesting.
Great question.
Fascinating.
The time we're trying to figure this all out in our heads, but we don't have what you have to understand it. So when you explain this to us, it just enriches our lives so much. Not only do you make the fascinating colors, bring them out of these rocks, get the earth and bring it out of the rocks. It's amazing. One of the most fascinating videos that you ever put up that I saw years ago was somebody standing in front of lapis lazuli, and the big rock blew up. Painting has never been the same since I heard that explosion.
Yeah, that's neat. Yeah, I was just showing that in South America, and I was explaining that seam, which comes from Chile, is probably 50 to 100 feet long and probably 10 feet high. And the little rocks you see are the size of cars. It's just, it's amazing. Yeah, it's really amazing. Earth is just amazing. And I love what you guys are able to do with it. It's pretty miraculous. There's a lot of aspects. When we're making paint, just like when you're painting, we have to worry about how high the heat is, because we get absorption, and we don't want too much absorption, because we'll lose, or actually, we don't want to get rid of too much water too quickly, because that changes our batch. Probably just like when you're painting in the desert and you don't want it to evaporate too quickly. So it's always how you overcome different situations, and there's always situations, which makes it kind of fun.
That is your passion. It shows, John.
John, does it make a difference in the factory if it's summer or winter as to how you have to adjust the machines?
It certainly makes a difference for our guys, because for a couple of days, a week or 2 weeks out of the month in Seattle, it can get hot. But we actually have, for our 3-row mills, we have chillers. They're huge. It's just a mammoth machine that cools down water, and we have lines that feed every 3-row mill, and it goes into the center of them, and the guys can regulate how cold the mills actually get. So when the rolls are very close to each other, you tend to generate more heat. And when you generate more heat, you tend to get rid of more water. So what they'll do is they will drive the temperature down of the rolls so they don't get as hot. And so they've been doing it. Some of them have been doing it for 33 years. You really have to think about all those things every time you're making a color, because every color you make behaves differently.
John, what about mica? How does mica affect the pigments? And
that's a good question. A good example of mica would be the fuchsites. They have a very, very high mica content. And the other ones that have either silica or mica would be the luminescents. And the luminescents have very high content of that. They have a very high L value, because they're like little mirrors that actually reflect huge amounts of light. So you have an L value, you have an A value, a B value, and an L value. And L value is just for light. And that's off the chart with anything that uses a mica because it reflects so very, very, very well. It doesn't affect, for the most part, it does not affect the granulation aspect of it. It's more of the L value of the color.
I have
That's
a
what
very
Thank you.
Yeah, that's why the
I have a
luminescents are
strange
so
side
very bright.
question. Do
I'm sorry.
rainbows fascinate you, John?
I think that as older I get, the world fascinates me. The older you get, the more you don't take things for granted. I was on an airplane going 500 miles an hour, and it wasn't probably till the last 5 years I thought about that, saying, "Wow, whether this plane is late or not, I'm going 500 miles an hour watching TV." That's pretty good. That's a pretty nice world. Yeah, pretty amazing.
John,
Today, snowing outside of the Venetian blind in the house, and you can only see them like every other spot because it's sectioned out because of the blinds go across, and every snowflake was lit by the sun and it looked like diamonds were falling out of the sky.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
Wow. I want to go paint. It was beautiful. And then it
John?
stopped.
John,
Yes.
is there any progress on the wish list site?
One more time, please.
On the wish list.
Is there any progress
Oh,
on the wish list site?
Yes. Unfortunately, Lisa, who helps us with that, passed away. So yes, we're going to go back to that.
Okay.
And I'm always open. I mean, you're my greatest and best sounding board. If there's something else that's missing that would help you make things or explain things better, by all means, please let me know that, because that's super, super important.
We have a comment here by Jay Wing. I think I don't know if it's a he or a she. It says, enjoyed this discussion. Sometimes could we talk more about how Daniel Smith makes his watercolor, etc. So I think this person should go to one of your presentations because you explain everything how to make color. So
Yes, that'd be good. Yeah.
It's something that interests people. So
Angela is one of our major translators. So all over South America, Angela, she's right beside me. We're doing translations. So it's pretty wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. He says, I was an old chemistry major, so the 3D compound should reflect light differently. That's the same person, Jay Wing.
Yeah, so the C-Lab it's how the human eye sees color. And from a practical point, I know when I look at the color charts, from a practical point, they're very similar, but there's definitely nuances of difference between them. So understanding both of them, I think, is just more tools in your toolbox. Like my mom said, it can't hurt. The more you know, the better.
It can hurt.
Can't hurt. Well, awesome. Gio and Letiza and Sabina, thank you all for doing your mixes. I think it's really interesting because one of the things we were talking about as well, Giovanni and Letiza and I, is I'm going to get some of the colors you're using, and I'm going to show you the C-Lab of the color in itself, and then I'll do the mapping of the mix. So you can kind of see what happens when you do a mix, where does it lie? It might be useful, it might not, but it's kind of fun to look at no matter what.
Bill is
John,
asking, do you have a video tour of the lab you could share at some time?
I think probably not R&D, but of the lab, probably so.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
John,
that would be a
we
great
have Sylvia
session
share?
and go for a
Sorry.
walkthrough.
I'm sorry?
It would be a great session to take us for a stroll through to show us all the machines and things like that.
Yeah, I think I will do that. I'd be glad to do that. I was thinking about doing small little videos of showing all of you guess the color that's on the mill.
Oh, wow. Look at
Because
that.
sometimes the color on the mill doesn't start out what you think it would look like. It's like so Sylvia's
Oh.
doing one, that's neat, and Marty
Yes.
did hers, and Mark did
We
one.
could
Do you
have
want to
Syl-
talk about yours? Do any of you want to talk about them?
Yeah, Sylvia first.
Yes. No, I'm playing with the granulation here and how the colors mix with each other. So it's amazing this. And I was trying to put in some Christmas card here. And on top, I'm using the luminescent iridescent gold. So just to decorate. But the colors are amazing. Here, how the French ultramarine granulates and it separates from the yellows. It's amazing. This, I think the result is something.
Very nice.
Very
Yeah.
nice. Very nice.
Very, very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We can see the forest for the trees.
Oh.
Sorry, I roughed it.
And then we have Mark as well.
Those are nice mixes, Mark.
Yeah. I love playing with the mixes. You always learn something new. I so strongly advise people to play around with their colors and, yeah, the top one is Indian yellow and Prussian blue. And it gives a lovely earthy landscape kind of green in the middle there. They work so well together. The next one is nickel tatanite and King's Royal Blue, the two newer colors, and they granulate lovely. So you can get a nice soft mix there.
Beautiful.
And then just like Sabine did, and a nod to Rick, we've got Quinn Gold and Indanthrone Blue, my favorite blue. And doesn't that just look like a stormy sky?
It's
Stormy.
nice.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful.
Yes,
Love it. And the grays you get there, and then the Quinn Gold is quite pushy, so yeah, it gives a nice effect, and it's lovely to play with.
Looks like the
Well,
sky in Peru.
Yeah,
Yeah.
stormy skies. Yeah.
Yeah.
When we have that color in the sky in Australia, it means it's going to hail.
Oh my gosh.
Kyle.
So you prefer not to see it?
Absolutely.
What is that blue again?
Indanthrone Blue.
Then,
Yeah.
Very nice.
Indanthrone Blue. So strong. It's very much like the skies in where I live around here. So I use it quite a lot.
Nice.
And what's your last one, Mark?
And the last one is bismuth vanadate and manganese blue hue. Again, if I can hold it up open.
Nice.
I love that soft
That's
mix.
nice. I like that.
So soft, and you get a beautiful soft green as well.
Yeah.
It's a spring
Cool.
day.
Yeah. It's like the ocean almost.
Yeah.
Oh, very romantic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's in that romantic mood.
Romantic green.
Angela, you're in a romantic frame of mind.
Yeah, probably.
That's because that was me.
Very nice.
And then we have Marty's.
Hello, everybody. I have some mixes. Sorry, my camera top is not available. But my favorite is cerulean blue with what? Hansa yellow. And I have a recommendation, mixing indigo with Hansa yellow light. It's a beautiful green. I have some of these for, yes, sorry, it's okay, the picture? Yes,
Yeah,
no?
that's
Yes,
fine.
we can see that now.
Yes, I love this granulation.
Yeah.
When you mix in the paper, you put in the other side, and the granulation is start to
Go.
French. Yes.
What are the other two? The French ultramarine and the ultramarine?
Yes. This is French ultramarine with aureolin, and this is Indian tone with Mayan blue.
And with the
Maya
pink
yellow.
colors, you can
Maya
get
yellow.
so many different shades of green.
Yes,
Yeah.
and when you put more yellow than
Exactly,
blue,
depending, yeah.
awesome.
You
Yes.
can cool it and warm it and do, I don't know how many shades of
Enough
green.
colors.
Yeah,
Than,
that is the beauty of mixing.
It looks
yes.
like a beautiful planet Earth.
Yes, it does.
Is that romantic,
I love
Barbie?
Well, yes, romantic but too hot. Like the one
Romantic also.
too hot.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marty.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming today and joining. Thank you for taking part.
Oh,
And you
Anna
want to show
John
your...
wants,
Yeah, please. Please.
Lovely.
Unmute.
There you
Hi,
go.
here's my romantic greens, Angela.
Fantastic. I love romantic.
So, I have comparisons with different blues, but same. Oh no, here, like cerulean chromium, but here it's with oh, I cannot see. Sorry, my light. Nyunga Bosch and Hansa Yellow Light, so you can see the difference. But the Super Winner and Mark also did it, but the Queen Gold with Indentherm Blue that Savine said, and here you light it, and so you can get so this is no hail yet, Caroline, but here, yeah, you start to worry. And this is Angela's romantic green over here.
Yes,
So
totally. But
this
listen,
was they're
looks
beautiful
different.
greens today.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but this one was I really liked it. So, well, I mean, all of them. I mean, come on, green, it's just
Yeah.
pretty amazing. So I have a bunch of other blues and yellows. So I'm just going to, as soon as this dries, I'm gonna flip over the page and continue doing more.
Very nice.
That's lovely.
Yeah,
We love
thank you. Thank you, Gio and Mitty and Sabine. Thank you.
Thank you too.
Oh,
Thank
welcome.
you.
Thank you.
You can see how much we love color.
Yes.
especially in the dark of winter. So thank you very much.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you,
You're
everyone.
smart.
Very nice.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everybody. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you,
You can
John.
come tomorrow.
Thank you, John.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Tomorrow.
Thank you.
Discussion.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
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 I want to see Gio's.
Sylvia, I like those
It's
pines.
there.
Yes.
Perfect.
My.
I'll see you all tomorrow. We're gonna have paint along. Starting
Yes.
tomorrow, Friday, and the next all Fridays of December.
Oh,
Okay.
excellent.
Wow.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Bye.
We'll see you
Bye.
tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you guys tomorrow.
Bye-bye.